Welcome to Radio Storytime on CPL Radio. Today's theme is the season of giving and thankfulness. Hi, I'm Mrs. K.
And I'm Miss Heidi.
The golden age of radio was a time when many people and families were going through tough times. The Great Depression and the war made an impact on the normal way of life. Everyday necessities were hard to come by, and many struggled to obtain the things they needed.
We have mentioned many times on Radio Storytime that during the golden age of radio, families did everything they could to keep their radios because of the escape it offered from the hardships of the time. Listeners were grateful for the short amount of time shows transported them away from reality.
Some shows were empathetic to listeners' hardships and made light of the tough times. Jack Benny and Burns and Allen aired Thanksgiving episodes that showed everybody was trying to save money and resources during the war. From considering buying a cannery instead of a turkey for Thanksgiving dinner or trying to cook a best friend's pet turkey, listeners appreciated their favorite characters experiencing similar personal hardships.
Today on Radio Storytime, we want to extend our appreciation and warm thank you to all of our listeners by sharing stories about the season of giving and thankfulness. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's selections.
Our first story is Thankful by Eileen Spinelli, read by Mrs. K. The waitress is thankful for comfortable shoes. The local reporter for interesting news. The gardener is thankful for every green sprout. The fireman for putting out the fire. The poet is thankful for words that rhyme. The children for morning story time. The artist is thankful for color and light. The clown for her costume, silly and bright. The doctor is thankful when patients get well. The traveler for a cozy hotel. The dancer is thankful she loves the beat that stirs in her heart and hips and feet. The chef is thankful for plates licked clean. The tailor for her sewing machine. The queen is thankful for an afternoon tea. The beekeeper for the honeybee. The mayor is thankful for every vote. The sailor for his sturdy boat. The birder is thankful to list a new bird. The pastor is thankful for God's loving word. The crafter is thankful for glitter and glue. And me, I'm ever so thankful for you. Now, a word from our sponsor.
This is Miss Heidi from the Youth Services Department at CPL to tell you what's happening in the library. Stop in and check out our literacy alcove in the Children's Library. This month we have a hands-on letter building activity, a Thanksgiving-themed letter search, and a take-home alphabet worksheet. See the children's desk for the materials you need to get started. Now here's Mrs. K to tell you about our Doodlebugs program.
Thanks, Miss Heidi. Doodlebugs is a fun art program for our little patrons ages 2 to 5. This month, we will be making placemats for Thanksgiving. Little ones can choose different Thanksgiving cutouts to add to their placemat. Doodlebugs will take place on Monday, November 15th at 10 a.m. in the community room. Check our online events calendar for registration information. Now back to our program.
Our second story is Thank You, Amu by Oge Mora, read by Miss Heidi. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. "What a delicious stew," Amu said. "Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I ever had." With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. "Little boy," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell," the little boy replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." Stew," he sighed. "That sure sounds yummy." Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. "Would you like some?" The boy nodded, and so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," said the boy, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw a police officer. "Miss Police Officer," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell," Ms. Police Officer replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Ah, stew," she said, and her mouth watered. "That sounds mighty tasty." Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. "Would you like some?" The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the officer said, and went on her way. And so for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until, knock, 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 again someone was at Amu's door. This time when she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. "Mr. Hot Dog Vendor," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell," Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Ooh, stew." The vendor licked his lips. "That sounds quite delectable." So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for a nice evening meal, it was empty. Amu sniffled. "There goes the best dinner I ever had." Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot, until, knock, 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 knock. Who could that be, Amu wondered. She opened her door. She saw the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. "I'm sorry, everyone," Amu sighed. "My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share." The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. "Don't worry, Amu. We are not here to ask. We are here to give." The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special, a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, Her heart was full of happiness and love. That dinner was the best she ever had.
Tune in next time when our theme will be Winter Wonderland. I'm Mrs. K.
And I'm Miss Heidi. See you next time.